We will start, as usual, with a short mindful breathing exercise. Watching the breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to generate good motivation, intention for being here. The purpose of my life is not only just to be concerned with just myself or my own well-being, but to be help and benefit others as well. And there are so many different ways that we can help and benefit others. But the best way that we can help, benefit, is to help them to overcome their own afflictive emotions, defilements. Which are the primary cause of their own problem and suffering. And to help them to achieve not just temporary happiness, but lasting true happiness. And to be able to help support in that way with our own direct experience. We ourselves need to achieve fully awakened state. And to achieve that fully awakened state, one must eliminate all the obscurations, defilements, and cultivate highest level of all the positive state of mind. Especially highest level of Bodhichitta and wisdom, realizing emptiness. And to be able to actualize them, we need to meditate and practice. And for that, we must be reminded of the practice through studying learnings. And that is why we have come here together. May I ask, coming here together to listen, to reflect, to engage in discussion, reflection, contemplations. May all this become cause and condition to reduce and gradually abandon all the negative state of minds, all the defilements. And to actualize and improve all the positive state of mind, spiritual realizations. And achieve fully awakened state and be source of greatest benefit and help to each and every sentient beings. Okay.
Prayers, Geshe. Michael, if you could put the prayers up. No, the opening prayers. Praise to the Shakyamuni Buddha. Yeah. Praise to the Shakyamuni Buddha, to the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfected knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make thanks, and go for refuge. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspects with supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of false, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death. The heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling on a mass of Vulture's Mountain in Rajagriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. I'll just turn this off.
Maybe something to battery.
I don't know, Geshe. I'll just continue and then I'll tell you. Well, maybe it's working now. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from their concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharadvatiputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Nagarjuna, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Saji Boki Jokshin Meto Tram Riradeshi Vide Gambari Sangye Shindu Mite Duwa Indra Namada Jila Chupasho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamriyatayami Sangye Chodang Soki Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dagni Gapsuchi Dagi Jishen Gipe Sonam Drola Penche Sangye Drupaso Sangye Chodang Soki Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dagni Gapsuchi Dagi Jishen Gipe Sonam Jola Penche Sangye Drupaso Sangye Chodang Soki Chonam La Janchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Jishen Gipe Sonam Jola Penche Sangye Drupaso.
Anche tu ce ne sono, Adam je bombe je ne Adam de la cha lo. So last week we stopped by the verse, I think 85 and 86, where it explained once you train in your practice of bodhicitta, and once you have been strongly through practice firm in your bodhicitta mind, in your practice, then such bodhisattvas, will even give up their own bliss of great concentrations, and when they see the suffering of others, and to help them, if it needed, they will be happily willing to go to even those where the most suffering is, such in hell. And so, Nagarjuna saying such attitude and such actions of the bodhisattvas is incredibly amazing and praiseworthy, And such bodhisattvas, have no problems or difficulties if it is needed to give even their body, their life, and wealth, whatever, such is the bodhisattva's attitude and practice when someone has very strong, firm in their practice. And in regarding to that, in sutras and also in others, many other teachings, there is also making extinguish. There are some, where when you can give your own body and flesh, not all the bodhisattvas are encouraged to do that. Even you have even in terms of your mind, you have no hesitation to give up your own body when it is needed or your own life. But also it is advised by Buddha and in sutras and also other teachings, when you reach certain point within the bodhisattva's practice, then you are, encouraged. But when you are at the very beginning of bodhisattva practice, you are not encouraged to do that. And it is mainly, it says, when you have very strong practice of wisdom realizing emptiness directly, and then when you have, of course, bodhicitta, mainly when you attain the Arya bodhisattva path, then at that time, even you give, then that would be a problem, and you should, But at the very beginning, even you have the wish to do that, even in terms of the attitude you are, but still it might not be the best sometimes, So that is, I just wanted to kind of touch on that. So then, verse number, we are on 88. This way. It seems better this way. Do I look better? More handsome? Taylor Swift. Whoa. I don't know whether it's a compliment or something else. So then, verse number 88, those who understand the emptiness phenomena have also confirm the law of karma and its result is more amazing than amazing, is more wondrous than wondrous. So, Of course, when such as bodhisattvas who have generated such a strong compassion and bodhicitta attitude that when they are willing to give up without any hesitation, happily enjoy their own happiness or the well-being of others' happiness, they are willing to give up their own wealth, their own life and body, not to talk about wealth. Such is amazing, such is wondrous, such attitude and action. But here he is saying, when someone, realize all phenomena are empty, when you analyze with ultimate analysis, where you cannot really pinpoint and find the phenomena, the objects within the part or outside of the part, you cannot really find with that kind of ultimate analysis, you cannot find, you cannot locate, you cannot pinpoint, and thereby, you cannot pinpoint in saying that object exists from its own side by itself, while you understand that emptiness, it does not exist from its own side objectively. At the same time, to be able to establish or present that it exists on the basis of merely label, on the basis of merely imputations, and on the basis of existing on merely label designations, merely thought, and able to appearance and able to functions. And when you have that understanding realization, then here, Nagarjuna, that is even more amazing than the previous amazing. It's even more wondrous than the previous wondrous, because this is the most difficult point of realized understanding the middle way emptiness. A lot of school of thoughts, they have difficulty with that. When they think do not exist from its own side, then they cannot think how can thing exist and how can thing establish. They fall into nihilism. If thing does not exist from its own side objectively, how can thing exist? For them, they are very difficult, to establish, to say that they do exist, And when you establish and when you present them to exist from then again it's hard them to not to see them exist from its own side objectively, So that is, but here Buddha ultimate thoughts, as Nagarjuna says, the Buddha's ultimate thought is, while it does not exist from its own side, at the same time, it exists, The way it exists is by merely imputation, merely designations. And because it does exist, therefore, there's law of cause and effect. Therefore, when you engage in certain positive actions, it will bring one will experience positive result. When one engages in something, negative actions, negative karma, unwholesome actions, then as a result, one will experience unpleasant experience, unexperienced result. So while thing does not exist from its own side, nothing exists from its own side, at the same time, there's law of cause and effect. At the same time, things exist. That is the most difficult point. And so when you have someone have that understanding, then that is the most amazing. That is the most wondrous. Because not understanding and realizing that is the problem, and then not being able to cultivate the right wisdom. And when you don't have the right wisdom, then we cannot get rid of the ignorance. If we cannot get rid of the ignorance, we cannot get rid of all the other delusion that arise from the ignorance. Then we cannot really free from the samsara or the suffering permanently or completely. But once you have that understanding, then you really start. The moment you have that realization, then from that moment, then you have started to crush and destroy the delusions and the root of all the delusion, the fundamental ignorance. So that is where he's saying, yeah. And as I mentioned already before, many times, not only is just school of thoughts, okay? It's not just a philosophical that they are having a different philosophical differences. If we try to check in our everyday experience, that is what it is. When I see the cup, the way I see the cup is the cup exists from its own side objectively. If someone said there's no cup objectively from its own side, I feel like they're wrong. How can they say there is no cup from its own side when I can pick up and drink it? How can this be same as the cup in my mental image? Do you get it? I can have a cup in my mental image. That cup cannot function as a cup. It's just my mental image. That one, if someone said that cup is not cup, exists from its own side, I can understand that. I can relate with that. Oh, it's just my mental imaginations. It cannot function and exist as a cup because from its own side. But how can this not be a cup from its own side? That is the problem we have, everything that we experience. And while to be able to see this cup does not exist from its own side, this cup does not exist objectively, at the same time, to be able to see there is a cup and it functions as a cup, that is the most subtle and difficult point. So it is not just among philosophers, it's also in our experience. Sometimes people think, oh, these are philosophical differences, This is something to our everyday experiences, And that is from when we see the cup, either we see exists from its own side objectively, and when we try to negate that, then we can't see the cup existence. When you say there is no cup exists from its own side, there's no cup objectively existing, then we feel like there's no cup. And that is that conflict that we have in our mind. So that is what here Nagarjuna is referring, not just among the school of thought, that is also, in terms of experience, until we meditate, and then we have that, when you have sudden realizations, then first you study, you hear, you study a lot about those emptiness. And you try to think, reflect again and again. And once you have certain understanding of that, then you really, meditate deeply. And when you meditate deeply again and again, then there is some experience that you get. And when you have that experience where you are able to see the cup or any phenomena, any objects, that they do not exist from its own side at all, not even one atom, nothing. There's nothing that exists from its own side objectively. There's nothing at all. But at the same time, to be able to see they exist on the basis of merely label, on the basis of merely thought, designations. So therefore, while through you are able to destroy the object of that grasping, there's no object to cling on, grasp on, where there's no object at all. At the same time, to be able to see there is a existing by on the basis of merely nominating merely label or designations. And that is the most subtle part. That is the most difficult and subtle part in understanding the emptiness. As I mentioned the example, when you think everything is merely labeled, at the moment, the way idea we get is merely labeled. Everything is merely labeled, then what is the difference between the cup, this cup and cup in my mental image? Both of them merely labeled. Even though they both are merely labeled, but there's a difference. And that is the difficult, Merely labeled means it's not just in your mind that there's no external world or objects. There is external world, internal world. Both external world, internal world are merely labeled, but there's a difference, and different objects have different functionings. So, and that has been most difficult point in emptiness, and so that is why Nagarjuna is saying, when you have that understanding, why it is even more amazing than the previous amazing, it's more wondrous than even the previous wonders. Once you have that understanding, then you have understanding of middle way, that you don't fall in nihilism, neither you fall into the extreme of existence. So then you find a middle way without. Otherwise, we tend to fall in one of the extreme. Either when you think of emptiness, we fall in nihilism. When we think of existence, we fall into the extreme of existence. The extreme of existing means, eternalism. That means existing from its own side, existing by its own objectively. So that is, so to be able to see both same time, seeing emptiness at the same time, the function of cause and effect. That is not so, that is the most difficult and subtle. If you see both of them, then because you see emptiness, then you have no grasping, because there are no objects of the grasping. through that understanding of emptiness, you dismantle the objects and through that analysis. And because there is no objects to cling on, grasp on, so there is no grasping. While it is emptiness, there is no object to cling on, grasp on. At the same time, there is law of cause and effect. Certain particular actions produce particular result. Particular coming together of a certain energy produce certain particular result. So that is where of course, the previous one is easy to also understand when he say bodhisattvas who really, give up their own bliss of concentrations. Great bliss of concentration, their own life, all the wealth without any hesitations, not only without hesitation, with a great joy because of their incredible Bodhichitta attitude. Such attitude and such persons and actions is amazing and praiseworthy. We can see that, how it is, But here Nagarjuna is saying this while understanding emptiness at the same time law of cause is even more amazing than that amazing, is even more wondrous than that wondrous. Because this is the key to end the samsara and the suffering permanently. Okay, so the next ones. Those who wish to save sentient beings, even if they are reborn in the mirrors of existence, they are not sullied by the stain of its events, just like the petals of a lotus born in a lake. So here is saying, not Arya noble bodhisattvas, but beginner bodhisattvas, okay? When we talk bodhisattvas, we cannot put them in same categories, okay? There are different levels of bodhisattvas. There are 5 bodhisattva paths, and you progress from one path to another path. The last one, 5 path, the result is enlightenment, Buddhahood. But first 4 paths, as you progress, those are bodhisattva paths. They all are bodhisattvas, but you progress from bodhisattva who is on the first path accumulations. And that bodhisattva make, through practice on both method and wisdom, develop more and more, then they progress to the next path of preparations. And again, they continue to meditate, practice, focusing on 6 perfections, focusing on method and the wisdom. Then they make progress to the next path, the path of seeing, 3rd path. And from that, then the bodhisattvas become Arya bodhisattvas or noble bodhisattvas. And within that, then next is the path of meditations. And within the path of seeing and meditation, there are 10 bhumis of bodhisattvas, bhumi or the ground. Again, these are different level of the bodhisattvas at their progress. Within the Arya bodhisattva, within the noble bodhisattvas, there are 10 different stages that one progress from first bhumi to second bhumi, third bhumi, like that. So you can see, bodhisattvas are not in same categories. They all are bodhisattva because they all have that bodhicitta mind we discussed before. But in terms of their practice, there are many different levels of practice. Okay, so here, mostly talking about this particular verse, is the first two levels of bodhisattva. Those are not Arya bodhisattvas, the bodhisattvas who are in the path of accumulation preparations. Okay. So, out of their great compassions and bodhicitta mind, and in order to help, in order to benefit, in order to help benefit the sentient being in samsara, so they are born in samsara, due to their karma, delusion. They are still not free from karma and delusions, but with a strong compassion, bodhicitta mind to be greatest benefit and help. So they are reborn in samsara out of that. And when they are born in samsara, so then here, even though they are born in samsara, because of their incredible compassion, bodhicitta mind, and because of their other practices, they are not contaminated or deluded by the samsaric faults. Like in general, samsara, there's a lot of selfish attitudes. Out of selfish attitudes, we try to hurt each other. We try to take advantage of each other's. We try to, whoever's more powerful, try to, power over those who are weak, and so forth, and cheating, exploiting, taking advantage. All kind of these are samsaric faults. These are all samsaric faults. The such bodhisattvas will not be deluded, polluted, contaminated by such samsaric faults. So here is giving example like lotus that are born from the mud. Okay, the lotus that come from the mud and they grow in only mud. This particular lotus, they only grow in such mud. But as the shoot comes, and then when the lotus blossoms, is free from mud. It doesn't have any mud. It comes from the mud, but is not. It is not what you call. Yeah, it is not muddy. It's maybe it's not muddy. Let's say it grows from muddy, but it is not muddy. Okay. Similarly, the bodhisattvas are reborn in the samsara, but they are not in the muds of samsara, but they are muddy by the samsaric muds or faults. Similarly, I think this lotus is specific. I think some lotus they grow in a lake, not in a mud, but that wouldn't be the example for here. It is particular mud, particular lotus. And then next one, number 19. True bodhisattvas such as Samanabhadra have burned the woods of afflictions with a wisdom fire of emptiness. They still remain moistened by compassion. So here now is talking about higher level of the bodhisattvas, Arya bodhisattvas. Before they are talking more about the previous verse is talking more about the ordinary bodhisattvas, who are not Arya or noble bodhisattvas. Okay. And now, as the bodhisattva train and make progress on their path, then, when they have direct realization emptiness, and when they have the ultimate Bodhichitta mind, then they become Arya Bodhisattvas or noble Bodhisattvas, other translation. So, such as Samanvadara is Arya Bodhisattva, so they are normally that you see in 8 Bodhisattvas, mentioning 8 Bodhisattvas quite often, as around Buddha Shakyamuni and Raj, so Samanvadara, Bodhisattva Manjushri, Avalokitesvaras, Vajrapanis, Namkanyingbo, Akashkarva, Sainingbo, Siddhikarva, Kripanamse. So anyway, they are like, so this is just giving one example, such as Arya Bodhisattva, Samanvadara, but all Arya Bodhisattva. And especially when you achieve among the 10 bhumis, the 3 last bhumi is called pure bodhisattvas. The 3 pure bodhisattvas path, the last, like 8, 9, 10, So when you achieve the 8 bhumi, then you completely eliminate all the afflictive emotions. From the 8 bhumi, there's no more afflictive emotions. All eliminated. Until then, even bodhisattvas has, certain subtle afflictive emotions. So again, once you become bodhisattva, it doesn't mean you have no more delusion, completely gone. If you choose the other path, then when you achieve arhat, then you are completely eliminate the delusions. If you go the bodhisattva path, then when you achieve that 8 bhumi, then that is when you eliminate all the afflictive emotions. So that is why having burned the wood of afflictions, so when you achieve the 8 bhumi of the bodhisattvas, then you have, eliminated, or that through the fire with the wisdom fire of emptiness, wisdom fire of emptiness supported by the Bodhichitta mind, then you completely burn the woods of all the afflictive emotions. There's no more afflictive emotions. So even though they don't have any afflictive emotions, are they fully enlightened? They are still not fully enlightened. They still have subtle obscurations. The imprint left by the delusions. So that they only started to work on, the 8 and 9, 10 bhumis, So even though they don't have any afflictive emotions, therefore they are also free from all the contaminated karma, all the afflictive emotions. But still, they still remain motioned by compassion, but they still have the compassion, bodhicitta mind, And out of that bodhicitta mind, out of that compassion, they continue to take rebirth in the samsara to help and benefit in whatever way they can help, whatever way they can benefit. They will continue to take rebirth again and again in samsara. Because if they don't have compassions and the bodhicitta mind, then they can just bliss out in that state that is free from any suffering and delusions. You have no more delusion, you have no more suffering, completely, permanently free from suffering, permanently free from the delusions. So you can just kind of remain in that state for eons and eons, bliss out, and enjoy that great bliss. But they don't do that. They continue to come again and again, reborn and retake in the samsara. What makes them come again and again in samsara? Reborn again and again in samsara, even when they are free from all that, because of that incredible compassion, Bodhichitta mind. It's because of that. So the Arya Bodhisattvas, they take rebirth not due to the delusion and karma, but out of great compassion. Due to great compassion, out of great compassions and Bodhichitta mind. And then here next, then here is talking about mainly the 10 bhumis. This is the 10 bhumi of the Bodhisattvas, the highest level of the Bodhisattvas. Okay. As I mentioned, in terms of 5 paths, in both the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of no more learning. This is the result when you achieve the fully enlightenment. But they all are bodhisattvas in different stages. Starting from path of seeing and between the path of meditations, there are 10 bhumis. Okay? And the 10 bhumi, the last bodhisattvas, the highest bodhisattvas, then through the concentration like a vajra, then they destroy the most subtle of subtle obscurations. Within the subtle obscurations, there is gross subtle obscuration and subtle obscuration and more subtle obscurations. Or maybe instead of subtle obscuration, maybe different translation they use is obscuration of knowledge. Okay? So gross obscuration knowledge, then again, Bodhisattva 8 bhumi try to overcome that, and then when they achieve the 9 bhumi, they overcome the gross level of the obscure knowledge. And then the 9 bhumi, then it try to overcome the subtle knowledge obscurations. And then when they achieve the 10 bhumi, they're over. But still in 10 bhumi, they still have the most subtle one. And in 10 bhumi, through that vajra-like concentration, then they overcome that more subtle obscure knowledge, and then next moment they achieve enlightenment. So the Bodhisattva in 10 bhumi, it is mentioned like in Chandrakirti's, one of the great Indian masters, Chandrakirti's Madhyamika Karika, supplement to the middle way, commentary to Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise. So in there, he explained different qualities of 10 each bhumis. When you achieve in bhumi, then you achieve many qualities, positive qualities, many different powers or ability to help and benefit other sentient beings. And as you make progress to the next bhumi, you achieve more and more of those ability, more of those qualities, more and more of that. And it is said when you achieve 10 bhumi, that bodhisattvas, the qualities, the ability, the power to help and benefit sentient beings, almost same like the Buddha. almost close and same like the Buddhas. The difference is, that still at that point, the Bodhisattva, even Tenbumi, he cannot engage in the post-meditative or post-equipoise, meditative equipoise activities of helping, benefiting others while he is in a deep, while he or she is in a deep meditative state of meditative equipoise. While he or she is helping and benefiting sentient beings, he is unable to be in that deep meditative equipoise. Those cannot happen simultaneously at the same time. The Buddha is able to do that. So those are the difference, But otherwise, it says in terms of helping at the ability or the skillful means, the power, tools to help and benefit is, not exactly same, but almost very similar to the Buddhas, And so, also that both Tenbumi, in order to help and benefit sentient beings, then, it it display many different aspects of helping and benefiting. And just like Buddha, so here that is where it's in. Those under the power of compassion, such as the Tenbumi, display the act of departing. So these are what sometimes you see 12 Buddhas deeds. Sometimes you see, probably you have seen 12 great deeds of Buddhas, And so these are like the deeds departing, departing from the Tushita, from the Tushita, and then birth, taking a birth in this world. Merriment, then Buddha, when he was young, as a prince, he got married and he had a prince royal life, renouncing kingdom. And then at the age of 29, he renounced the princely life and give up that life, and he renounced that. Engaged in ascetic penance, and then for 6 years, he really engaged in a very strong form of ascetic penance or practice. And then, after 6 years, and finally, under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, then he has the great awakening, And I think just before the awakening, defeating the Maras. So just before the great awakening, he has all external, internal Maras. Maras means evils, especially the internal evils, delusions arising in different forms, and to distract and to that. And so he defeated that through love, compassion, and concentration meditations, defeating the Maras. And after the full or great awakening, then in the next verse number 92, turning the wheel of Dharma, after his awakening, then after 49 days after his awakening, when he was being requested to teach by the Brahman and others, so then he gave the first teaching, turning the wheel of Dharma. Entering the realm of all gods. This one, I'm not sure, but I think this might be, he went to Goram to repay kindness with his mother. Buddha lost his mother after his birth, I think in 7 days, after 7 days. So he was taken by the sister of his mom, who became the queen and stepmother, So Buddha remembered the kindness of his mother, and his mother was born in Gaurams. And so he wanted to repay the kindness. And as a way of repaying the kindness, he went there and teach there, teaching the Dhamma there. And so there are 4 Buddha's holidays, special holidays in a year. One of them is descending from that Gaurams. One of them is normally in Tibetan calendar is the 9th month. English months sometimes change a little bit. So that is when the Buddha is descending from the Gaurams. And where he went to Gaurams is where his mom was to repay the kindness. He went there to teach. Again, these are such a great example. His mom gave him birth. She only took care of him for 7 days. She died, but still the sense of gratitude, sense of feeling of kindness, and the wish to repay the kindness is such a strong. For us, not only give birth, they help us to grow up for 20 years, 30 years, sacrifice 50, 60 years. Still, sometimes we don't remember kindness. Still, we get upset and angry how they treated us this way or that way. How they were not kind, compassion, this and that. Even though after how much they have done for so many years, and we just hold on a few things that they might not be not skillful means, or in the moment of something, they said something, they did something, and we hold on that. And everything they did, here the Buddha, even just for giving this life, this birth, and so that is why he went for repair. So I think that is entering the realms of God and then descending. And likewise, display the act of going beyond the bound of sorrow. And then at the end, Buddha showed or display the act of or aspect of passing away. That is what it, beyond the bound of sorrow, Mahaparinirvana, show, expect. So just like Buddha have those 12 deeds, Buddha showed those 12 deeds. Also, the great bodhisattvas, such as those in the 10 Bhumi, out of great compassion, they also show such they display and show such aspect. And they all do that out of compassion. And each of those deeds are teaching for us. Each of those deeds are teaching for us. Each of those deeds are a great example, instructions. Just like, we learn so many things from observing someone's life, someone's deeds, someone's actions, through example. So these deeds are showing us example, whether it's the Bodhisattva 10 Bhumi, whether it's the Buddha, or other Bodhisattvas. So, then 93. In the geese or guys, yeah. In the guise of Brahma, Indra, Vishnu, and that of fierce Rudra form. So these are worldly gods, powerful worldly gods, okay? according to some of the Hindu traditions, they talk about Trinity. Brahman is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and that of fierce Rudra here means Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer. But they all are powerful, holy God. In Buddhism, there is no, they don't agree or believe in that way, but they do believe they are powerful gods, worldly gods. They are powerful worldly gods, and leaders of certain god clans, and each of them, these gods, has particular power, So there are some of the most powerful worldly gods. Okay. So here is the bodhisattvas can come in a guise in those gods. I said those gods. Actually, they are bodhisattvas. But bodhisattva can manifest and display or guise, come in the form of Indra, in the form of Brahma, in the form of Vishnu, in the form of Shiva and all others, when it is helpful and benefit. So that the bodhisattva who is in that form is not really Brahman, is not really Vishnu, is not really Shiva, is a bodhisattva, because those are the worldly god, and that the bodhisattva is not worldly god. But they can form, they can manifest and come in that form in the guise sometime. So they form the compassionate dance with act bring peace to the beings. Whatever is most beneficial to the beings, they will manifest in that form. There is a story. Sometimes you see, when you see the images, sometimes they are gods, Hindu god, but also you see in some very similar in Buddhist. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate for us. There's sometimes very slightly difference. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate the subtle differences, but it's not same. There is a stories of, Ganesh. Ganesh is one of the Indian, again, god with an elephant face, and he's in Hindu, and he's the son of the Shiva. So it is said they regard the Mount Kailash as the Shiva's place, and so there is a story about Ganesh was guarding his father's place, and it is said, whether it's Chakra Sambara or Avalokiteshvara, one of them, so it was time to subdue that god. So it was time. And again, it is very important, find, like when you see that, it has to be the right time. When they feel it's the right time, then they teach or they display that. When it's not right time, even you try to do, you will not be able to subdue because they are not ready. So anyway, it is according to that story, because in Buddhism there is something called Ganapati, is also well god. Ganapati is very similar like Ganesh, but it's slightly different. A lot of people will think this is a Ganesh. The story is that when Ganesh was there and the Chakra Sambara or Avalokiteshvara saw it is time to subdue, so then he manifested and displayed. When Ganesh was going around the Mount Kailash, then Chakra Sambara, that particular deity, manifested in the same form like Ganesh. So he was sitting at the Ganesh place when Ganesh was going around. just like him, but with more aura, more powerful. And when Ganesh come and see, just like him, but with more powerful than him, and more aura, more, and that is, that is through that then he subdue the Ganesh, So in that sense, and so the Ganapati that we have is not the real Ganesh. It is the Avalokiteshvara and Chakrasambhara who manifested in that form, So there are a lot of times. So that's why I'm saying here in a guise or in different. So what we also in some sutras and also other teachings, they also says, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas can also manifest not only as a different beings, they can manifest as animals, they can come as an animal, they can manifest as different human beings, they can come as a human beings, all kind of different human beings, sometimes as a beggar, sometimes as a king, sometimes as a servant, sometimes as the owner, sometimes as very educated, sometimes as uneducated, all kind, whatever is most beneficial and help, they will manifest and display in that form. And it also they can also come and manifest in the form of non-beings, such as water, such as bridge, lakes, anything. And there are a lot of stories. People saw something, and then there are stories like people, they cross through the bridge, and then when they look, there's no more bridge. There are a lot of people who experience like that. There is a story like a lot of people who, so they saw a lake, and they even, experience that, drink or wash, go in, and then after some time it disappear. Be something like, and so again, those could be manifestations of those, bodhisattvas, Buddhas. It could be, but whether those, I cannot say personally with each of them, but definitely it is explained in sutras and also in others that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can also manifest, not only as a being, different sentient beings, but also as a non-being like that, So therefore, also the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can manifest or come as a, Jesus, as a Muhammad, as a Mahavir, the founder of the Jain, all different spiritual paths. So we don't know whether Jesus, or we cannot say for sure Jesus was not a Bodhisattva. We cannot say for sure that he was not Buddha Bodhisattvas. We don't know. We cannot say Mahavir was not a Bodhisattva. Especially the Jain, this is very non-violence, even more than even Buddhists in some cases, their practice, So they could come in any different spiritual leaders. They could come as because that particular spiritual path suits different sentient beings and help them. Buddhist concept doesn't suit them, doesn't suit their mindset. Because different people have different mindset, Some are more intellectual, some are more emotional, Some people is more about feeling, some people is more analyzing, Some people, they have difficulty connecting with the Buddhism because you have to do all it by yourself. They feel, and for them, there is someone who is powerful, you just pray and that will take care of you. It seems much more easier, meaningful. Yeah, even I have met some practitioners who used to practice, well, they came from different spiritual paths and then they came to Buddhism and they practiced for many years and they went back. And some of them, when asked why, that was the reasons. That was the reasons. They felt like that you have to walk your own way, you have to find your own path, you have to achieve your own enlightenment yourself. Seems like, it's too much for them. And for them, you just pray, believe there is someone, and that will take care of everything. That kind of philosophy or thinking or path suit them. So therefore, different people have different mindset, and that is why we have so many things all over the world, even in different kind of car, because some people like different cars. All kind of souls, different people like different souls. All kind of entertainment, because different people like different entertainment. Some people doesn't like music, some people like music, some people like different kind of music. Why? Because different people, different taste. Same in terms of mind, we have a different, different interests, different predispositions, and different spiritual path, different view, different philosophy suits different beings. And so bodhisattvas and Buddhas are that whatever help that person in long term to guide them in the path to become more kind, compassion, loving, caring, they can manifest and come. Some people become very kind and compassion on the basis of belief that the God is love, compassion, and everyone's a creator of that God. And so you have to love everyone because it is same creations and is the God child. For them, through that kind of concept, they can feel compassion and love for others. So different path, suits them to be better persons, more kind, more compassionate, more ethical, and so that is all it is. And so therefore the Bodhisattva can come and manifest in different form. So that is why we have to be more careful and respectful instead of criticizing others so easily. You never know who is Bodhisattva. Sometimes the most from outside seems most unlikely to be Bodhisattva might be Bodhisattva. And from outside, who lives most Bodhisattva might be the non-Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is something to do not outside, something inside. Sometimes there are people who are incredibly kind, compassion, but maybe the appearance is not so compassionate. And there are some others, externally seems compassion, but not necessarily incredible compassion inside. Because sometimes, we try to be politically right, everything's is image showing, so we never know. And so again, these teachings is another teaching for us to say, and Buddha himself said, other person cannot read other person's mind, unless you are fully enlightened, who can read others' mind, other beings cannot read others' mind. And so if we cannot read others' mind, we cannot know who is Bodhisattva, who is not Bodhisattvas. And therefore, so this here is saying, the Bodhisattvas can come in guise or in the display or in the aspect, in the form of all kind of beings, whenever they see it's the best for that sentient beings to come in that form and to help in them from that form, with that form, you know. Yeah, sometimes, you know, certain people might not be able to help by someone who seems to be more compassionate, but they might be able to help who seems just like themselves. Do you get it? Whether it's, you know, someone who grew up in a street violent, sometimes who have never had that kind of violent kind, they try to help, you know, they might have resistance to that. But someone like themselves who grow up in a such street and who is violent like them, and when they try to reach out and try to help, they might be more open for that. And then they are able to receive the help, whatever help, changing, transforming. So you never know, you know, and sometimes in that cases, it will be best for the Bodhisattvas to come in that form, in that, as that, to help that particular sentient beings. Okay, so, yeah, so if there's question, I can take one questions.
We have a question online, Geshe.
Yes, please.
The question is, in the Heart Sutra, Avalokiteshvara is called Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Is a Mahasattva a category of Bodhisattvas? Also, I hear sometimes Avalokiteshvara described as Buddha, and sometimes as Avalokiteshvara as a Bodhisattva. Does that mean Avalokiteshvara is considered by a Buddha by some and others a Bodhisattva?
Yes, you can see Avalokiteshvara, not only Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, Vajrapani, you know, sometimes they are in the aspect of Buddhas, Buddha of compassion, Buddha of wisdom, Buddha of the power of abilities. And sometimes you see them in the aspect of the Bodhisattvas, such as 8 Bodhisattvas. Same with Maitreya, or one of the most Maitreya. Sometimes you see Maitreya as an entourage of the Buddha, as a Bodhisattvas, and then sometimes Buddhas. In reality, they are Buddha, but when they are around Buddha and suddenly they show the aspect of the Bodhisattvas. So when Buddha was teaching, they came in the aspect of the Bodhisattva. They showed in the aspect of the Bodhisattvas. And that you will see also in one of the sutras, Buddha also describing, saying, Avalokiteshvara has already achieved enlightenment many eons ago, and there was the name of that Buddha. But at the moment, he's showing the aspect of the Bodhisattvas. So Buddha even described that in one of the sutras. So therefore, they are Buddha, but then they show the aspect of Bodhisattva sometimes. You know, so yeah, so that is, yeah. So yeah, so that is what. Mahasattva means great, you know. Bodhisattva, Mahasattva. Maha is the great, you know, so like Mahakaruna, you know, Mahamudra, you know, Mahasattva, you know. So it means the great being. Yeah.
Just 2 questions. The term skillful means is used a lot. can you go into that a little more? What exactly is meant by skillful means?
Skillful means is bringing the wisdom and then seeing what is the best for that. It's not about what is the best, what I think. Is understanding what is best for that person. A lot of time we think, oh, this is best for that person. And so we started giving advice, we started to, whatever that is. And it doesn't help benefit the others because that is what they are, that's what they need or what they want. Skillful means to be able to understand what is their needs, what is their want, and what is the best way. So trying understanding and to being able to communicate or to be able to help or work in that. For example, we can have compassion and wanting to help, but if we don't have skillful means and we try to help, instead of helping that person, we make that person upset because the way we try to do that person was not, because that was not skillful means, and your intention the best, but due to lack of skillful means, instead of really get that person being helped as you intend, but sometimes it end up to have a different result, and that is because we didn't have the skillful means, because we didn't understood exactly and didn't bring the right skill to do that.
The eighth bhumi gets rid of effective emotions. Can you tell me exactly? This is actually leading to something, maybe. Can you tell me exactly what are the effective emotions?
Afflictive emotions?
Well, whatever, but what's the definition of that?
Yeah, whether it's afflictive emotion, again, in Sanskrit it's Kalasha, in Tibetan it's Nyamon, and different translators some use delusion, some use afflictive emotions, some use defilements, some use negative, destructive emotions. But basically, it's the definition is describe the moment that mind or mental factors or emotion arises that disturb your minds, that agitate your mind.
That's what I needed to know. Okay.
That's defined as delusion. So anger, attachment, ignorance, jealousy, all of them part of those afflictive emotions. Okay. Any other questions? Then we can do dedication if there is no more afflictive emotion. Okay. A little bit up.
Yeah, if you could go down to dedication prayers. Right, it's right at the end, the document you have.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Gewadi,
Inyo Lama Sangye Do Gyo Ne Do Wa Chi Nyang Ma Le Pa Te Sa La We Pa Sho Sento Rinpoche Ma Ke Pa Na Ke Kyo Che Kewa Nyamba Me Paya Gong Le Gong Tu Pe Wa Shou
Gangri Rawe
Kowe
Kowe
Shikam De
Pendang Deva Malu
Tuwe Chere Sewa Tenzin Gato Shabe Site Bartu Tenju
Prayer for Rinpoche's swift return. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Stravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and son, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Buddhist precious and complete teachings, through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the oceans of the three jewels and the great waves of Bodhichitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
And please hold Geshe-la's long life in your hearts, as he mentioned.